I have to tell you something, not from fear, not from rumor, but from a place of deep conviction. There are moments in life when God pulls back the curtain, when he lets you glimpse a scene before it unfolds. Not so you can brag, not so you can boast, but so you can be prepared. On August 11, 2025, I saw it. The throne was empty. The grip of control was broken. The power that once seemed untouchable was gone. You see, we walk through this world thinking certain people, certain forces, certain systems will stand forever. They seem so high, so mighty, so unshakable. But let me tell you, there is no human power that God cannot remove. There is no throne so tall that heaven cannot tip it over. When God decides it's over, it's over. Not tomorrow, not next week, in an instant. And it wasn't chaos I saw, it was clarity. I saw the people breathe again. I saw chains fall. I saw the ground tremble under the weight of justice. And here's the part you need to understand. This isn't just about a leader or a position. This is about the giants in your own life. That addiction that's been ruling over you, that fear that's been gripping your mind, that shame that's been your prison guard. God is saying, I'm about to remove it from power, but you must be ready. Don't just watch history happen. Position yourself for it. Stand on the side of truth. Keep your heart pure, because when God shifts power, he also searches hearts. Some of you have been waiting for this moment for years. You've been praying, Lord, when will this end? And God's answer is here. When I say so, and on that day he said so. So let this be your sign. Whatever has been oppressing you, no matter how long it's been in charge, no matter how untouchable it's looked, its time is up. When God speaks, mountains move, thrones crumble, the mighty fall. And just as I saw it in that vision, I tell you today, your freedom is closer than you think. The one who holds the universe in his hands is still in control. And he's about to show it in a way no one can deny. People look at the world and believe that certain people and powers will never fall. They think their wealth, position, and influence make them untouchable. They stand on high platforms, surrounded by walls of security, layers of authority, and the illusion of permanence. But all that is man-made, and anything man-made can be shaken by the one who made man. History has shown it again and again. Empires rise, leaders dominate, systems appear unbreakable, and then in one moment they collapse. That is the reality of human power. It is fragile when measured against the strength of God. No matter how intimidating the ruler, no matter how firm the grip of control seems, it cannot outlast the will of heaven. People forget that even the most powerful figure on earth is still a created being. They breathe air like we do, bleed like we do, and depend on God for every heartbeat, whether they acknowledge it or not. We tend to give human power a kind of sacred status in our minds, as if they are beyond accountability. But the truth is, every throne has a limit. Every crown has an expiration date. And when that date arrives, nothing can delay it. Not wealth, not armies, not influence. The God who spoke galaxies into existence can whisper a single word and entire dynasties crumble. When God says the season is over, the ending comes swiftly. Sometimes we expect a slow decline, but heaven doesn't work according to human pacing. The same day Goliath mocked Israel, he fell face first in the dirt. The same night Pharaoh thought he would still control the Israelites. He woke up to find his firstborn dead and his nation in mourning. The power that seems eternal can be snapped like a twig when the Creator wills it. And that's not a message of fear. It's a message of hope for those who have been under oppression. Because if no human power is untouchable, then no situation in your life is unchangeable. The same principle applies on every scale. That boss who has abused their authority over you for years, that corrupt system that's been blocking your progress, that enemy who keeps plotting against you, they might look secure today, but they are not above God's authority. The same God who dethrones kings can remove those barriers and destroy those strongholds. He is not intimidated by the size of the opposition, and neither should you be. When you understand that no human power is untouchable, you stop living in fear of people. You stop being overly impressed by titles, bank accounts, and armies. You start to see them for what they are, temporary. And in that realization comes a deep confidence in the sovereignty of God. You stop asking, how can I possibly fight this? And start declaring, if God is for me, who can be against me? That doesn't mean the battles vanish instantly, but it changes how you stand in them. You no longer tremble before the one who has authority over you, because you know they only have as much authority as God allows. There is comfort in knowing that no human power is beyond God's reach. It means evil cannot reign forever. It means corruption has an end date. It means oppression will meet its breaker. It means that when God says enough, the world shifts. And when that shift comes, you'll see that the one who once seemed invincible was never truly in control. Only God is. And that truth, unshakable and eternal, will outlast every crown, every throne, and every name history will ever record. When God reveals something ahead of time, it's never for the sake of curiosity or to give us a dramatic story to share. It's purposeful. It's a divine act of preparation. He speaks to ready his people to align their hearts, to position them so they will stand firm when the moment arrives. A prophetic moment is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to equip you. God does not waste revelation. If he shows you a glimpse of the future, there's a reason you need to see it. Fear thrives in the unknown. When we have no idea what's coming, our minds fill the silence with worst-case scenarios. But when God lifts the veil for even a second, he takes the power away from fear. You no longer have to live in anxious speculation. You have an anchor for your heart. The enemy wants you to be caught off guard, overwhelmed, and unprepared. But God's prophetic moments flip the script. They put you in a position of readiness instead of panic. Some people receive a warning from God and shrink back in dread, but that's not why he speaks. God does not operate in the spirit of fear. He operates in truth and clarity. The Bible shows us this pattern repeatedly. Before the flood, Noah was given precise instructions to build the ark. Before famine struck Egypt, Joseph was shown the meaning of Pharaoh's dream so grain could be stored. Before the birth of Jesus, Mary and Joseph were both visited by an angel so they could embrace their role in the greatest story ever told. These moments weren't random. They were targeted revelations, timed perfectly so his people could take the right steps before the appointed day. When you understand this, you stop treating prophetic insight like a mysterious code to be cracked and start treating it like a roadmap. God's revelations are invitations to partner with his plan. If he shows you something will end, it's because you need to be prepared for what will begin. If he shows you a leader will be removed from power, it's because he's making room for a shift in the spiritual and natural order, and you have a part to play in that transition. Preparation could mean prayer, building your faith, positioning yourself for opportunity, or breaking free from attachments to what's about to be taken down. The enemy will try to twist the prophetic into a weapon of fear, convincing you that knowing the future is a burden you cannot bear. But in God's hands, foreknowledge is a gift. It's like a storm warning given days in advance. You have time to secure what matters, move to safety, and ensure the ones you love are ready too. Without the warning, the storm would overtake you without mercy. With the warning, you can stand through it with confidence. God's prophetic moments are also a test of trust. Sometimes he shows you something so far beyond your current reality that your mind struggles to believe it. It doesn't look possible. The powers in place look immovable. The situation feels fixed. Yet the revelation stands as a promise that God is already working behind the scenes. Faith means holding on to what he showed you, even when your eyes don't yet see it. So when God gives you a glimpse ahead, don't let fear dictate your response. See it for what it is, a divine head start. He's not trying to scare you. He's trying to strengthen you. He's not trying to unsettle you. He's trying to position you. And when the moment arrives, you'll be able to stand unshaken because you were not caught unaware. You will be ready because heaven prepared you. We are conditioned to believe that great changes take time, that the dismantling of power is a slow, gradual process. We think in terms of months, years, even decades, watching step by step as events unfold. But God is not bound by our timelines. When he decides a shift must happen, it can occur in a single heartbeat. The rise and fall of power are not dependent on human pace. They are dictated by divine will. One moment the throne is occupied, the next it is empty. One moment the enemy stands tall, the next they are brought to their knees. Scripture is filled with examples of how quickly God can overturn what seemed permanent. Think of Goliath towering over the Israelite army, mocking them day after day. Everyone thought the fight would be long and brutal, if it was even winnable at all. But with one stone, one swing of a sling, and one moment of divine timing, it was over. The same day the giant threatened Israel was the same day he fell lifeless to the ground. That's how fast God can move. Look at Pharaoh in Egypt. For years, he held God's people in bondage. Even after the plagues, he resisted letting them go. Then came one night, the Passover, when everything changed. In a single evening, the most powerful ruler of that time was broken. By morning, the Israelites were on their way to freedom, and Egypt's grip on them was shattered forever. These stories remind us that when God moves, he does not need a slow buildup. He can bypass processes, bypass negotiations, bypass expectations, and bring about change instantly. What humans would plan over years, he can complete in a moment. This should encourage anyone who feels trapped in a situation that looks unending. The same God who turned history on its head in a single day can do the same in your life. It's easy to believe in change when we see small progress, but it's harder when everything seems frozen. We look around and say, and nothing's happening. It's all the same. But heaven doesn't need visible signs to be at work. God often works in silence and unseen places, preparing for the exact moment when he will reveal his hand. And when that moment comes, it will feel sudden to us, but it will have been perfectly timed by him. This truth should keep you from despair when you're in the waiting season. Don't think that just because nothing appears to be moving, that nothing is happening. God might be setting up the pieces for a swift, decisive change. One order from his throne can end years of oppression. One divine enough can erase generations of struggle. One moment of his intervention can remove from power what you thought would rule forever. That's why you must always be ready. If you wait to prepare until you see signs of change, you'll miss the moment when it happens. God's swift moves often come without warning to the unprepared, but they confirm his word to those who are watching and believing. So never underestimate how quickly God can rewrite the story. The delay you feel now is not a sign of weakness. It's often the build-up to a sudden breakthrough. He can change the atmosphere in a day, remove the untouchable in an instant, and turn the entire balance of power with one act. When he moves, no force on earth can resist it, and no one can stop the ending he has declared. When we hear about the removal of a ruler or the downfall of a system, our minds naturally focus on politics, leadership, and positions of authority. But God's power to remove from power is not limited to governments or kings. The same God who shifts nations can shift the personal battles inside your own heart. He can dethrone anything that has been ruling over you. Fear, addiction, shame, bitterness, hopelessness. These things may not wear crowns or sit on visible thrones, but they have been exercising control in your life for far too long. And just like a corrupt ruler, they can be overthrown by the authority of God. Fear is one of the most controlling powers a person can live under. It dictates decisions, limits opportunities, and keeps people from stepping into their calling. Some have lived so long under its influence that they've accepted it as part of their identity. But fear is a liar. It does not come from God, and it does not have the right to govern your steps. When God moves to remove fear from power, it's like a light breaking into a dark room. Suddenly, the shadows lose their hold, and you see clearly that you were never truly trapped. Addiction is another false ruler that convinces people it will reign forever. Whether it's substance abuse, destructive habits, or toxic relationships, addiction thrives on the lie that you can't live without it. But God is the chain breaker. He doesn't just weaken the hold of addiction. He destroys it completely. When he says it's time, the craving loses its grip, the cycles break, and the identity of addict is replaced with the redeemed. The throne that addiction sat on in your life is toppled, and in its place comes peace, freedom, and clarity. Shame is more subtle, but it's just as oppressive. It keeps you tied to your past, whispers that you're unworthy, and convinces you you'll never be more than your mistakes. Shame is a cruel ruler because it doesn't just control actions. It poisons self-worth, yet the blood of Jesus speaks louder than shame. When God removes shame from power, the accusations lose their voice. The chains of condemnation fall away, and you realize you're no longer defined by what you've done, but by what God has done for you. Some live under the oppression of hopelessness. They've been in the valley so long that they can't even imagine what victory looks like. Every day feels like survival. Every dream feels too far gone. But hopelessness is not from God, and it's not a permanent ruler. When God decides to remove it, hope rushes back like a flood. Vision is restored. Dreams come alive again. The energy to fight returns. You begin to believe that the future can be different and that belief changes everything. These personal rulers are just as real as any president, king, or authority figure. They govern emotions, choices, and destinies. But here's the truth. They only sit in power because you've been led to believe they can't be removed. The moment God's truth collides with that lie, the entire structure falls apart. So as you think about power being removed, don't just watch the news or look at world events. Look inward. Ask yourself, what has been ruling me that God never intended to have authority over my life? Then stand in faith and declare that its reign is over. Because the same God who topples empires can topple the giants within. And when he does, you'll find yourself living in a freedom you didn't think was possible, walking in a new identity, and carrying a testimony that will inspire others to believe their own oppressors can be removed from power too. When God shifts power, it is not just about the person or the system being removed. It is also about the hearts of the people who remain. Every divine change comes with a test. Where will you stand, and who will you be when the dust settles? Too often, people focus only on the fall of the mighty, celebrating the event without realizing that God is also scanning the crowd, looking for those whose hearts are aligned with him. Positioning yourself for the shift is not something you do after it happens. It's something you prepare for long before the moment arrives. Being on the side of truth is not always popular. It might mean standing apart from the majority. It might mean refusing to join in on the compromises that others have accepted as just the way things are. It might mean losing friends, opportunities, or even safety. But the side of truth is the only side that will remain standing after God's shakeup is complete. When he moves, lies are exposed, motives are revealed, and only what is pure can endure the refining fire. Purity of heart is not perfection. It's a lie. It's about having motives that are sincere, free from selfish ambition, bitterness, or pride. When God removes a power from its throne, he often replaces it with something new. The question is, will you be ready to take part in that new chapter, or will you be disqualified because your heart was not right? Many miss their moment because they've spent more time criticizing the old than preparing to serve in the new. In moments of transition, people are tempted to take advantage of the chaos. Opportunists arise looking to grab influence or wealth from the vacuum that's been created. But God's shifts are not opportunities for selfish gain. They are invitations to step into his purposes. If you are not anchored in humility, the same pride that toppled the previous power can take root in you. History shows this cycle repeatedly. Those who rise without pure hearts often fall just as quickly as the ones before them. Positioning yourself also means staying faithful in the waiting season. Many people want to be part of the new thing God is doing, but they grow impatient when the timing doesn't match their expectations. They let frustration pull them into compromise. But the ones God uses are those who remain steady even when nothing seems to be changing. They are praying, preparing, and building in the quiet, so when the shift comes, they are ready to act immediately. There's also a call to be spiritually alert. In times of transition, deception often increases. The removal of one power can make way for another that appears good, but is actually worse. If you are not discerning, you can end up celebrating the wrong victory. That's why staying close to God's voice is crucial. He will show you not only what's falling, but also what's rising. He will help you recognize whether the change is truly from him or just a reshuffling of the same corruption in a new disguise. So as you wait for the shift, examine your heart. Are you clinging to truth even when it costs you? Are you walking in humility, ready to serve rather than be served? Are you steadfast in faith, trusting God's timing instead of pushing your own? These are the marks of someone who is truly positioned for what's coming. When God searches for those he can trust with influence in the next season, let him find you ready, not just in skill, but in spirit. Because when the shift happens, the opportunity to prepare will be over, and only those already aligned will step into the roles he's been saving for them. There comes a point when the thing that has oppressed you, drained you, and held you back reaches the end of its authority. It may have lasted for years. It may have felt like it would be permanent, but God has already written the moment when it will fall. Your freedom is not a vague hope. It is a certainty in his plan. And the truth is, it is closer than you think. We tend to believe that change is always somewhere in the distant future, a far-off possibility that we might see someday, but God's timing often catches us by surprise. What feels like endless waiting is often just the last stretch before a breakthrough. Just because you can't see the evidence yet doesn't mean the moment isn't approaching at full speed. Heaven's calendar is not bound by your perception of time. One day it will simply arrive and everything will shift. Freedom in God's terms is not just the absence of oppression. It's the restoration of purpose. When he removes something from power in your life, he doesn't leave you empty. He fills the space with peace, joy, and clarity. You don't just stop being a prisoner. You start living as a child of the King. That's why the nearness of your freedom is such a powerful truth. It means you're about to step into the life you were created for, not just out of the life you've been surviving. Think about how God has worked throughout history. The Israelites cried out in Egypt for years, and it seemed like nothing was changing, but the day of deliverance had already been marked. At the appointed time, God sent Moses, confronted Pharaoh, and shattered the chains of slavery in one decisive act. For the people living through it, the change seemed sudden, but for God, it was perfectly timed. The same is true for you. While you've been praying, while you've been enduring, God has been orchestrating the very moment your chains will fall. The closeness of your freedom should change the way you live now. You don't wait until you're free to start acting like it. You start preparing in faith today. You walk with expectation. You begin to speak as though the victory is already yours. You align your habits, your relationships, and your mindset with the life you're about to step into. That's not pretending, that's believing. And faith has a way of accelerating the manifestation of what God has promised. Sometimes the enemy tries to discourage you most fiercely right before the breakthrough comes. He wants you to quit in the final stretch, to believe the lie that nothing will ever change. But the intensity of the opposition can often be a sign that you are closer to freedom than ever before. Darkness fights hardest when the dawn is about to break. If you can endure this moment, if you can hold your ground and refuse to give up, you will step into the season God has prepared for you. Freedom is not a question. It is a promise. And promises from God are unshakable. Every obstacle, every enemy, every chain is already on borrowed time. When he says, no force in hell or on earth can stop the release that is coming. Countdown has already begun, and each day brings you closer to walking in the fullness of what he's designed for you. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, and get ready. The thing that has ruled over you is about to be removed, and the life you've been longing for is nearer than you've ever imagined.